This is the Right Guys podcast, where we ask if they all made money, who really got defrauded? And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back to another edition of the Right Guys podcast. As always, my name is Max McGuire here with Mr. Producer Josh. Lots to talk about today. This is a headline that, as I'm setting this stream up, which is some of the least fun, busy work of this, like setting up the stream keys, all that stuff. I bounced a lot of different ideas on a title, and it might even change between now and when we post the audio edition up after this afternoon. But the thing I just kept coming back to is Biden's a criminal and Trump is innocent. And it seems like it's something that should go without saying. It seems so simplistic, and yet when you look at what's going on in these stories that we're going to cover today, that is the key takeaway. It's that if one of these people is innocent and one of these people is an obvious criminal, it's Joe Biden is the criminal. And the more we hear about Trump, even as they're throwing everything at him, Trump is the one who's innocent. So we're going to get into all this in a second. Please do hit that share button. Please do comment, hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, so we can get this in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah. So it's like a classic projectionist bad relationship, Max. You know, if the Democrats and the Republicans were married, the Democrats always project what they're actually doing on the Republican Party, and then the Republican Party just sits there and takes it, right? And they're just like, well, it's not us. We didn't do that. But how many times have we seen the Democrats claim that Trump has done something, but we find out later they've done it themselves? I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, every story that ends up popping up, you know, Trump is a criminal, you know, his mind is lost and we can't trust him with anything. And then you actually see Joe Biden, who can't be trusted with anything, who has no mind.
I mean, this applies to so many different things. I mean, look at what Elon Musk just posted the other day on Twitter, now X. Yeah, that has gotten so many people riled up. Washington Post just pulled their advertising. He called attention to the fact that among the loudest critics of the so-called Pizzagate conspiracy theory, which was a conspiracy theory alleging a vast network of pedophiles pulling levers in government, among the critics of that Pizzagate conspiracy theory was someone who was subsequently arrested for child pornography.
Yeah, so he was.
That's one of those like projections among the loudest people saying that this isn't happening. It's not real. Pedophilia isn't a problem. You find the pedophiles, which is, it's just, you can't write a different, a better ironic story right there. Yeah. So you see this in everything.
It's gross. I mean, have you seen the like all those alleged hotel videos where they've got somebody who finds like a hole in a wall or a floor in DC or in other states? Oh yeah. And they all lead out to parking lots. Yeah. And then the whole pizza symbols that was used by the Podestas, as I knew it, right? And they had deep ties to Clinton. They had deep ties to Hillary. I mean, Bill, all of them, right? I mean, all the pieces are there.
I don't believe that the pizza place had a basement. When I was there for Trump's inauguration, I ordered pizza from the place. They don't have a basement. They don't have a basement. So
you ordered pizza. Was it good?
No.
Did they make a good pie?
It tasted like pedophile pizza. No, it sucked. It sucked. It was terrible pizza. I have bad luck eating pizza in DC. So that part of it was like very obviously, unless they filled it in and boarded up.
But it's another place. Like there's an effort to move.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the ultimate fear that there are pedophiles in positions of power pulling the levers and the strings and making the country go in the direction they want to go. So I don't know, it's so crazy how the projection in this story, in Joe Biden, the fact that Donald Trump is being prosecuted for illegal possession of classified documents, when Joe Biden was found to be in illegal possession of classified documents
in the garage
with even less of an excuse and no excuse, right? No excuse. Some of these were from when he was a senator. You can't take that out of skiff. I mean, like, it has negative excuses.
Yeah.
Trump
Those are
has
real
plausible.
crimes.
Trump has plausible excuses, but to see that
Yeah.
Trump's being prosecuted, and it seems that the special counsel is not going to indict Joe Biden, which the policy is you can't indict a sitting president. I understand that, but that's what impeachment is for. If a
Yeah.
president has committed a crime that would be prosecuted had he not be if he wasn't president, then the goal is to have Congress impeach, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But it's just, it's so exhausting because let's talk about the Trump thing with Deutsche Bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday, this news came out that a representative from Deutsche Bank was on the stand and was asked about Trump's valuations, because the center of the Donald Trump New York case is that he overvalued his properties to get a loan that he wasn't qualified for. And even though he paid back the loan, even though he didn't default, even though the bank made money, the claim that the government, the state of New York, is making is that when he overvalued his property, he defrauded the bank. And and he did it to gain something himself. He did it because he wanted to get the loan. And what the testimony yesterday, let me find the guy's name. Nicholas Haig. Haig. He's a Deutsche Bank banker. And what he testified was that when Donald Trump gave this valuation, the bank didn't assume it was real. The bank actually cut it by 75%. Oh, my video is a little bit off. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Hear you fine. Keep going.
They actually slashed it by 75% and said, okay. And they said, okay, let's imagine that this is overvalued by 75%. Would it still be a good loan for us to give out? Like, if he's off by 75%, can we still make money? And they said, yes, we can still make money. And the other bit of testimony that came out is that this is common in the industry, that they do this for all of their big, what they call whales, mega millionaires, billionaires.
Yeah.
They don't just take it with a grain of salt. They do their due diligence, and they ask themselves, if they're off, if they're overvaluing it, if we think it's less, can we still make money? And it's not always just like if they're lying. It could be if there is a crash in the economy, if there's a crash in the real estate market. Like that doesn't mean that they were defrauded. That means we gave a loan. Let's imagine that the real estate market tanks 75%. Can we still make money? The answer is yes.
Yes. It's premium. It's premium. I was just looking up the definition of fraud and defraud, and like the word fraud is so broad in its definition, and probably in its legal definition that they built a case on something that's like paper thin, Max. I mean, this is it doesn't reach that level. And looking at the definition of just the word defraud, to deprive of something by deception or fraud. He didn't deceive anybody if he presents a contract and says, this is what I think it's worth. And then the bank comes back and says, hey, we looked at it. We don't think so. It's short of what you're after. But man, we think you can make the cash. Let's go.
Yeah.
Is that fraud?
No.
No, not at all. No. It's called risk in business.
Yeah.
They're risking their money. They know, right? And then they did their diligence on it. So why is this even at trial?
Why? No, it's crazy. So like you've bought a house. I've bought a house. My video keeps getting out of sync. You've bought a house. I've bought a house. Part of that process is you agree to a purchase price.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to finance the house, you go to the bank and you ask for a loan for that purchase price. That purchase price is what you think the house is worth.
Yep.
The bank isn't just going to take your word for it. The bank is going to send out an appraiser. And in order for the bank to approve the loan, the house has to, quote unquote, appraise. So let's imagine a situation where you say, I want to buy a house for $300,000. You go to the bank and you say, this house is worth $300,000. Can you please give me a loan for $300,000 minus my down payment?
Yeah.
If the bank sends an appraiser out to look at the property and says, it's only worth $220,000.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you defrauded the bank. That just means your view of how much the property is worth is more than what the bank is comfortable with writing a mortgage for. That's all that means. You're free to disagree.
Yeah.
You're free to disagree. Now, it would be fraud if you bribed the appraiser, right?
Right.
If you held him
Yes.
at gunpoint,
Yes.
that's where fraud comes in. But
Coercion.
but having a fair and open disagreement on how much something is worth and providing the other side opportunity to do due diligence, that's not fraud. And
No.
right on the documents that he submitted, he said, don't just take my word for it, send out your appraisers.
Yeah.
And now from this testimony, we're learning that they basically did. They looked under the hood, kicked the tires, and said, you know what? It might be a little bit under what he's saying it is, but even in a worst case, sky is falling, it's devalued 75%, we can still make money, so we're going to make the loan. We're going to approve the loan.
Yeah. It's crazy. And Max, I'm reading a story from the AP, and right in the first paragraph, right, we see that Deutsche Bank viewed Donald Trump as a whale of a client, like you said, was eager to land him, and eagerly cultivated a relationship that grew from 13 grand worth of revenue to 16 million in 2 years. Now, every time that we hear about somebody getting defrauded or fraud occurs in some way, somebody loses something, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like old people will be defrauded by a real estate person, put them into some sort of refi mortgage that they end up losing the house, right? Knowing that it's going to be bad. That would be like fraud, right? Knowingly and willingly giving somebody something they know they couldn't do, right? But that was never the case here. They wanted to talk to him. They wanted his money. They wanted the chance at working with him because they want to make money even down the road. So I don't see it, Max. I don't see fraud here in any way, or defrauding of Deutsche Bank and their actions. Like, what? There's nothing there.
Here's the other piece. The Deutsche Bank official who testified said it is not industry standard that the valuation statements that, like the one Trump made, it's not an industry standard for them to be audited.
Wow.
The bank does its own valuation.
Yeah.
They don't base it on this. If you give them a pie in the sky valuation, they don't spend a minute of their time vetting that valuation. They do their own. They do their own, and that's what they base it on. And like,
it's just baleness.
And you know what? There are legitimate reasons why he could think his property is worth more than the bank does, than this judge in New York does. I mean, remember, this is the Mar-a-Lago, one of a kind property. Nowhere else could you find that. You'd have to demolish hundreds of homes to do it. But also, it's a business. It's a revenue generating property. So if you're valuing a business, it's not just what the land is worth, what the buildings are worth, what the improvements are worth, what the infrastructure is worth. It's also what the revenue it generates. And depending, people have different figures on how it should be calculated. Some say 5x, 6x, 10x, 20x, depending on how long you expect someone to be in this business. It's not fraud for him to say, well, I think it's actually 10x revenue should be added to the price. And they say, actually, no, we think it's just 1x revenue.
Max, yeah.
That's not fraud.
No.
That's just a disagreement on how you value the property.
Well, you like property, right? Have you ever heard of comparables? Like your house is worth X because you
comps.
compare it to something else, right? Yeah. All right. So let's
love
do this.
comps. I use them every year to fight my property taxes.
Absolutely. They're in your favor. But if we were to use this as an example to say that if we looked at other billionaires around the country who've done the same thing with their property, right? Have they experienced the same thing? And the answer is most likely yes, right? I mean, they have something that they think is worth it. They've gone to a bank to get a loan, and they've most likely gotten that loan, or they turn it away because the bank has that option, right?
Yeah.
So if we compare Trump to everybody else that did the same thing, that means every other person that conducted business in the same way is guilty of the same crime. Even you and I, just for valuing our house under this line of thinking, we've defrauded somebody.
Oh yeah, if it's even 1 penny, if the appraisal is 1 penny below what you estimated, that's fraud. You defrauded a penny.
Right. Is that the future we're looking at in real estate, or somebody who runs for office has to experience when they go against the party who's in power? Right. I mean, think about all the precedents this starts to send down the line, right? I mean, is everybody going to go after everybody using the Department of Justice or local and state governments to go after you after you get out of office?
Yeah.
No one will ever run for office again unless you're part of the aristocracy. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Why would they? And it's so frustrating because we don't live in this world of billion-dollar valuations and things like that, but you don't have to understand the basic concept of it. Like, you go into a car dealership and you fill out the application for financing. It says, how much do you make in a year?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're commission based, say, okay, I make $100K, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
If at the end of the year you fall short of that, did you just defraud the car dealership? No, because you made an honest estimate on how much you expect to make in a given year.
Right.
Now, if you went home and you wrote in your diary, "Dear diary, I tricked the car dealership into giving me a car by overvaluing my income by 2x. Ha ha, they're so stupid." Then that's fraud, right? But reasonable people can come to different conclusions on how much something is worth without it being fraud. Period. Full stop.
It just shows they're just trying to go after him. They've got nothing else to go after him with, Max, right? And the thing is, they got to get him now, because if he becomes president, do you think he's going to be a nice guy when he comes in this time, and he won't fire all of the FBI? He won't just wipe the slate clean of
he's
anything he can?
He's going to ask for the report on every single DOJ FBI official who touched any of his investigations, and he's going to fire every single one of them.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
And that's what they fear.
For misconduct, bad performance.
Yeah. And it just blows my mind that they've got to get rid of him now. And if this doesn't work, Max, what's next? Are they going to try to claim fraud somewhere else? Are they going to find any other business thing that's out there? I mean, civil cases are hard too. They're going after his cash. And I think it was, was this one?
This
is New York, right?
The one they're coming after his cash, yeah.
And it's like they're going after resources. They're trying everything to try to take him down. And they're leveraging the law to do it. And this judge has just been all over the place in this case, man. I mean, if there was a judicial review on him, I'm sure there would be some real eyebrow raising things he's done. Just the way that the conduct has been happening inside the case. Yeah. And the way he talks to him would be enough that he should recuse himself, but he doesn't. No. I mean, I've never even heard of judges getting into bantering, angry arguments with the plaintiff. It blows my mind.
And I saw something that the clerk that's been at the center of all this, his clerk, I think I saw something over the weekend that the clerk was at a Letitia James fundraiser, the Attorney General.
You're kidding.
Yeah. So it's like come on.
Wow.
Come on.
Fishy, right?
I'll have to see if I can find that, but
yeah,
it's just it's so many very obvious conflicts of interest. And as I've said on the show, as I've said on our previous show, the standard is not proving that there is a conflict of interest. The standard for disqualifying someone is they have to step down if a reasonable person could look at these set of circumstances and conclude that there is a conflict.
Sure.
Right? It's the appearance alone of a conflict of interest that's disqualifying.
Yeah.
But it's not just this. It's not just this case. We're seeing it in the January 6th cases too. Trump just tried to get disclosure. He tried to get documents about the January 6th rioter cases to use in his case, basically to prove that the 2020 election was stolen or that there was a conspiracy against him. And that was denied, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's fighting all of these cases at once. And it's amazing how they'll put forward a very simple, very reasonable request. Say, hey, we would like Discovery to look into documents about this. That very clearly affects their ability to make an argument, mount a defense, and they get declined by the judges.
Yeah.
But then someone else can go in and make the same exact request for a different case, and they get accepted. Right? It's like there's another RICO. What's the other RICO case happening in Fulton? It's a rapper, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Young Thug.
Young Thug.
Young Thug.
Oh my God.
That's actually on TV right now, but that's the same prosecutor's office that's going after Trump in. I'll go ahead and
really
put that on the screen.
Really?
That's the same prosecutor's office that's going after Trump, Young Thug. And they're using a RICO case against Young Thug.
A criminal
claiming
street
that
gang.
He and his co-conspirators were a criminal street gang. Now, his case, jury selection, took 10 months.
Holy crap.
10 months of jury selection for a RICO case. Donald Trump, same prosecutor, same county, same charge, RICO. They want to ram this thing through as fast as
They
possible.
can.
And
Yeah.
I guarantee you Donald Trump is more as commonly known person, even in inner city Atlanta, than Young Thug.
You bet.
People have many more opinions about Donald Trump than they have about Young Thug.
Didn't they take like 2 weeks just to pick the jury? I mean, it happened with a lightning quickness, Max. I mean,
Well,
we were talking about.
they haven't picked the jury yet. I don't think they picked the jury yet.
Oh, right, there was something that
like
they
grand
ran
jury
through.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
the grand
It
jury
only
met.
took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like,
What they
oh
did
my
was they
gosh.
took evidence from previous grand juries and said, "Well, this is what the other grand jury saw. What do you think?" And they made decisions in hours, in days. It was
Okay. I'm
insanity.
mistaken. Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah, I mean, it's so quick that you're just blown away. I mean, if he gets 10 months just to find a jury, I mean, how long did it take to get there? I mean, he has to take years to mount a defense, and
Yeah.
Donald Trump's got to do it in less than 6 months, right?
And the reason is
For the whole
obvious.
trial.
Young
Yeah. Oh,
Thug
yeah.
isn't running for president.
Yep.
And Young Thug isn't on the ballot in less than a year,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? So you can't give Donald Trump 10 if the whole point of this is to stop Donald Trump from being elected, you can't give Donald Trump 10 months to find a jury
No.
because then the trial doesn't start until election day. And it can't stop him from being president. You can't throw him in prison before election day if you give him the same due diligence that you give another person in the same county by the same prosecutor being charged with the same crime. It's just, you look at it side by side, and it's obviously a miscarriage of justice. It's obviously political.
And it's just so blatantly biased. They don't even care about the way it looks anymore. Like they have taken the blindfold of law and have taken it off her and have thrown it off now, and they are directing her to swing her sword at people. Man, that's what's happening to Donald Trump. You know, justice is no longer blind. They've got crosshairs on him. They do. I mean, they're going to get him one way or another, and I fear for what's going to happen if they can't get him on this one. And if he does get elected again, I worry for his safety, Max. I really do, because they're after him. They're gunning for him hard, and I just don't trust what's coming. And I'm worried, Max. Like I told you the other day, I woke up and everything just tastes and feels different in the world.
Might be COVID.
It could be. It could be. Like last time it was just sweet potatoes and cigarettes is what I could smell, and I was like, this is odd. But you get what I'm saying. Like you go out there and it's just not. It's not the same place. There's something in the air, and I can't describe it. And I wish I had the answers. And I think other people feel it.
What's really uncomfortable is just how many people are okay with going about their life as if everything's normal. Going through their life as if it's completely normal for a sitting president to indict his challenger, right? As if that's normal.
Right.
Just going through life. Oh, this is how it always is. There's a gaslighting that's been going on for sure by the media of convincing people that this is normal, that this is good, that this is just, this is legitimate, when it most obviously isn't. And I'll tell you, I mentioned this when we started, right before we started. People have been messaging me asking why I'm going after people like Joe Oltmann the last few days. And I don't think I am. I'm going after the idea that protecting someone in Antifa, which is who he says his source behind his Eric Coomer call, that protecting someone who was in Antifa, it just doesn't make sense anymore. Given all of the stakes, I can't look at a article, Josh, about Trump or about Biden and not think in the back of my head, this wouldn't be a thing if Joe Oltmann has what he says he has and released his source. Right? I mean, how much do we have to endure? Like, how much is this Antifa guy worth? We've played it on the podcast before. Everyone else in Antifa, Joe Oltmann seems to say that they're monsters, that they're inhuman, and they deserve nothing. But this guy is one of the good ones. You have to protect him at all costs. If you have what you say you have, this isn't a thing anymore. Donald Trump isn't doing this and having to file these discovery requests because he can prove it was stolen, right?
Right.
All of this goes away.
Yeah, and then all kinds of other amazing things start to happen, like investigations, discovery, people showing harm, reasons for going to, investigating the things that we were told were completely conspiracy based. It's lay it out, put a website up, do something, give it to a reporter, whatever it takes.
I just I can no longer, and it's almost like I'd forgotten that this was like the hang up for the longest time. That the
Yeah,
hang up was that he was protecting someone who was in Antifa.
yeah,
I'd forgotten, and someone sent me a clip that we played on the show of him complaining that people are asking him to release this person. He'll never do it. And it's just like when you go through life and all of a sudden your eyes just get opened to a new way
yeah,
of looking
yeah,
at something,
mhm,
and you can't go back to the previous way you were looking at it. This is
yeah,
one of those situations for me. I mean, I was just reading an article about January 6ers who committed suicide in
yeah.
prison. Don't you think they would have liked to be able to present that source at their trial
Trial, yeah,
and say, actually, I was legitimately opposing a false transfer of power because here's the evidence.
yeah,
Like people are dead. Donald
and
Trump
broke.
is facing 700 years in prison, right? Millions of Americans are donating to this.
Yeah,
Their hard-earned money. Hard-earned money is going to these legal defenses, whether it be Joe's or anyone else's,
yeah,
Donald Trump's, anyone's. Right? How much do the American people need to fork over out of their month-to-month paychecks
yeah.
to protect someone in Antifa?
And not a lot of us have treasure backs. We just don't have a room where we can pick up money and throw it at a lawyer for my defense. These people have probably mortgaged and sold their homes, their cars. They probably had to take out loans that they're going to have to pay back for the
Oh
rest
yeah,
of their lives at high interest rates right now
yeah,
in a time of inflation, right? I
yeah.
mean, man, like all of their treasure is gone. Like their freedom is gone. It all starts to turn right. I mean, Tucker Carlson would have some sort of
Yeah.
reason to say you shouldn't have fired me, right?
Dominion
The
doesn't
Fox,
win the lawsuit.
yeah, Fox doesn't have to pay over 800, whatever
Yeah.
the insane amount was, right? Like that all goes away.
Tucker Carlson keeps his job. His
Yeah,
producers keep their
their
job.
jobs. Yeah, they
OAN would still be on the airwaves
it would,
instead
would
of being on like one or two
yeah.
carriers. I don't know.
Imagine.
I look at this and this Antifa guy must shit solid gold or
Mhm.
something.
I mean, they would have to be such a rare and unique individual. Why would you? And if they're Antifa, they hate the process anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
And if they are reformed Antifa, they should want to help.
right? Come
How
forward with it.
how reformed is this Antifa guy if he's okay with Donald Trump going to prison for the rest of his life and him sitting pretty at home, keeping
Right.
his secret?
I don't know. It's just,
It's
it's
insane.
like all you have to do is share it with one reporter at any newspaper anywhere, and I guarantee you,
Yeah.
it would change the world. I mean, imagine having the power to change the world for people, Max, and not doing it. For the future president of the United States, you have that power to make things right.
Yeah.
I mean, why? I mean, if you're a power hungry person, why would you let it go? Right? I mean,
We all
if you're
make
like, fight
decisions.
that.
We all make cost benefit decisions every single day
Mhm.
of is it worth doing this? Right? You stop you approach a light that's just turned from green to yellow.
Mhm.
You check your watch, how long do I have to make it? Is it worth running the yellow, risking
Yeah.
getting T-boned,
Ticket.
risking a
Yeah.
cop being behind
Anything.
you, judging is it worth it? If you're in a rush, maybe it is. If you have plenty of time, maybe it isn't, right?
Yeah.
Maybe instead of that rolling stop at the stop sign, you hit that brakes hard and you let those brakes lock. That's just a simple thing. We all make decisions, pros, cons, weighing the balances. And I'm sorry, I feel like I gotta call bullshit that we're 3 years in, and every time we've seen a story of Donald Trump facing 700 years, January 6er commits suicide, another January 6er goes to prison, right? OAN off the airwaves, Tucker loses his job. I can't believe that someone would look at all of this and say, yeah, protecting the Antifa guy is worth it. It's more important.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it. I just can't. And it's starting to piss me off. It's pissing me off more than anything pissed me off at Conservative Daily when we worked there, which is
Yeah.
crazy, which is crazy.
It was
It's just if he has what he says he has, it's unconscionable. It's unconscionable to hold it to your close to the vest.
Be a hero. Save people's lives. Save
You're
their
trying
treasure.
you're trying to appeal to his
Yes,
lots
because
of words you can use for it, but his
yes,
hero complex.
just you said it, not me. I'm just saying that there's people that can be saved, and if it's time to save the people, save them. Otherwise, you can be a savior or not. I don't want the opposite of that.
Or have a real, legitimate discussion and explain why it's more important to protect someone who is an Antifa than it is to protect the 45th president of the United States and the only one with a chance of kicking Joe Biden out of the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Explain why 4 more years of Biden is worth protecting one person in Antifa.
I don't know, unless they're a billionaire. It's just crazy. I understand it. You just, yeah.
I got slow video again. I don't know
You
what's
did.
going
It's
on
all
with my
good.
video today.
I was just filling, but yeah, man, I don't know. I want it to be there. I want there to be evidence. I want the world to see it. I mean, that's all we ever wanted from that.
If the evidence
all we
exists,
ever wanted it.
we want to see it.
We
want
want
everyone to see it.
Yeah. If you got it, let's go.
If you have this evidence, how do you let all of these elections happen in the interim?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, imagine if you have evidence that elections can be stolen through technology means, then tell us how it's done so it can be prevented. Imagine all the good that can come from this.
He has lots of theories, except for the one he has. If you have the source, you have to release it. You have to. And one person reached out to me and said, "Why are you doing this? This isn't your place. You don't have to be doing this." Well, no, I haven't seen anyone else call him out and like beg him to release it using this argument, right?
Yeah.
Like I've seen him put out a video and he's like, "Well, yeah, it would make my life better, but I'm doing the right thing." I haven't heard anyone ask him, "Why is it more important to protect this guy than to protect Donald Trump or all the January 6ers or help all the people in the United States, right, in the world?"
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I mean, he probably doesn't care what I say. I like to think he still would.
Right.
But if he doesn't care what I say, I don't think he'll care what anyone else says.
Right.
Like I feel like if anyone's going to get a clip like this out there and convince him that like it's time, if you have it, if it is what you say it is, you got to release it. I feel like it has to come from me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And if someone else wants to do it, do it.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I miss what we had there. I really miss what it was like when, I mean, we were putting out something that felt really good. And now I wish it was back to the way it was, but we can't, because now we've got this information that's out there that can save people's lives, and we just can't see it. So
if it is what he says it is,
yeah,
it's just time.
It changes the world.
Changes the world. It's going to change every other article, news story we're going to talk about for the rest of this episode.
It can change the world. How many people can say that? He can change the world.
Yeah, no. You're literally writing yourself into the history books. You don't have to conquer the known world like Alexander the Great or Napoleon or Genghis Khan.
Your name gets said in history books in high school in 20 and 30 years, right?
They'll be singing
the man
songs.
Who saved the president.
Hundreds of years from now, they'll be singing songs about you.
I don't know if it would be that. But yeah, I mean, it would be part of the history books, right? Maybe there are some people out there that be like, I'll sing your song. But
you know what I mean? That's like
the
Greco-Roman way. When society collapses and we just have like the Iliad, people telling stories.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be. So listen, and it's not just Joe, it's everyone.
Yeah.
If you have something that can save us, if you're not going to release it, you have to explain why.
Yeah.
And actually confront it. And as I said on the episode we did a while back, look at the scales of justice, right? Not talking about like Hammurabi's code, eye for an eye. Just The scales of justice. If you want to protect a member of Antifa, how much is that worth? How many people need to suffer to keep this guy safe? And is there really no way to keep him safe and release the source? Which I don't believe. But that we can do that for another episode.
You know what blows my mind is that the biggest warrior so far for the January Sixers has been Johnson for releasing the videotapes.
Yeah.
I think that is, I mean, that's like right now I have to tip my hat to him saying you're the only person that's leading the charge. And all he had to do was just release the videotapes because now the public can see the kind of like there was some things going on there that did not feel right. There was a lot of baiting going on. There still can't get a clear question how many federal agents were inside of the crowd at the time. I mean, Max, there's some stuff out there. I mean, imagine this. This is a whole world-changing event that can be undone.
Yeah.
Undone.
If he has what he says he has, that doesn't happen.
It just stays the same. And we look at 2024, and if the same result happens again, and we see that super spike in the middle of the night happen in any state in some crazy county for Joe Biden against Donald Trump, what's the world going to look like after another 4 years of that? What is the world going to look like in? Do you think people are going to tolerate that? Do you think they're just going to sit by on this one and let something like that be stolen?
Do we ruin the world to protect someone in Antifa?
Wow. Yeah, because there's unintended consequences from all this.
Yeah.
30 years from now. It's like hurts, man.
I don't have the clips, but I can pull the clips of like, punch his teeth in. I'm going to drag him behind the car until his limbs fall off. Every member in Antifa deserves the most gruesome death.
Some of those one-liners were just like,
we're gonna do gallows from sea to shining sea for every Antifa member except for this one. He's the good one. Like, what are we doing?
I didn't even think about it. I forgot all about it.
I know. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh! Until the parts fall off. It should have been like a T-shirt when we were there. Till the parts fall off.
Punch his teeth in. Remember, he said, "I'll meet you on the streets in my underwear. I'll fight you."
He did it in the park. He said, meet me in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was strangely, it was in my underwear, which was very weird.
I don't know.
But like everyone else deserves the absolute worst. Except for this guy.
Right? They're golden.
What the hell am I missing?
They poop gold.
Yeah, it's golden goose.
Or something. I don't know. Oh, I forgot all about the parts falling.
I know.
I forgot some of those. I was like,
some of those pucker up. Technical difficulties. No, it's if you have something that can save
anybody
the
out
world,
there.
If you have something that can save the world,
right? And don't save it for an October surprise. I'd love a January surprise. Let's have a December surprise.
No surprises.
Right?
No surprises.
Just release it and.
Because then we can get Joe Biden out of office.
And wouldn't that be worth it alone?
Yes. Then you don't have to go through impeachment.
Oh,
you don't have to have the House putting an impeachment inquiry saying, well, we found $240,000 of direct payments to Joe Biden, 20 subpoenas, 20 times Hunter Biden put Joe Biden on the phone with them during his business meetings, 5,400 emails that Joe Biden sent or received using a pseudonym, a fake name that he hid from everyone. This impeachment inquiry doesn't have to happen if you provide the source.
Right. I see real crimes here by the Bidens. Real crimes. Like they were acting like a mafia? I mean, is that what they thought they were? Or did they think they were as badass as the real mafia people? Real mafia people. I mean, I think Clintons are probably the real mafia people, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at people like Tony Bobulinski, who literally put their life in jeopardy to provide their evidence, to try and take down the Biden regime, to stop them. What was the other one? Archer? Was the other guy?
Hunter's best friend,
Hunter Biden's best friend. Who he held out hope that the Bidens were going to pardon him or not prosecute him. And they said, you know what? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to tell the truth and let the American people see the truth and see the chips where they lie. Right?
Crazy, man.
No, not
It's
not
crazy.
the not the Antifa source. He's one of the
It
good ones.
is that really, but like, it just ended on a sad note there because I have little faith that it's actually like I don't think I'm ever gonna see it, and I want to see it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah.
I feel like
There's
it
no
should play
pressure.
like no pressure.
There's no pressure.
No, no, there's no one in the media saying, "Why aren't you doing this?" I mean, a lot of the associated people that, you know, were part of all that, I mean, they've all gone down for something.
Yeah. Give me
And
one second. I'm
everyone.
just I'm gonna email myself
Yeah.
something.
So
Um,
Max, yeah, I don't know, man. It just I try to think about the good times, right? When we had Trump in office and they were going after him left and right there. That was fun. I always enjoyed that.
yeah, no, it's that
And
was
now we're just seeing more of it. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you're furiously texting. I like that. This is
I'm
fun. Is
emailing
this your
myself.
detractors?
I
This is
no
fun.
no I got things on my phone,
Timestamp.
but I can't. Yeah, I got things on my phone that I can't throw on the computer screen
Yeah,
as quickly.
blows my mind. And I just why not? Why hold back? That's the thing is why? Why would you want to hold that back?
I don't want to get any more subpoenas, so I don't want to
Yeah,
opine.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have any inside information.
Yeah,
I don't have
neither
any
do I.
inside
That's
information.
the problem.
It's just you look at this, and it's hard to understand why. And I think a perfect opportunity to reveal the source, Josh,
Mhm.
would be it passed, but it would have been at the Douglas County election summit, which just happened. Joe wasn't
Oh.
on the list. This would have been a perfect opportunity for him to reveal the source.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ash made the list. That was surprising.
Ash Eep. Hmm.
Yeah. Good for him.
Wow. Yeah, she's rocking and rolling.
Yeah, but you got to
Yeah.
release it. I mean, and this applies to everyone. If you have something that can save us all, it just sounds so crazy. I mean, talking
It's
about
just,
it.
but it's a real statement. It can save hundreds of lives with people in treasure and freedom.
Yeah,
And the potential president and former president of the United States.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Did you see what the sheriff that won by one vote?
No way.
Do you see that?
No way. Like a single vote?
Yeah, single
It's
vote.
like a made for TV movie, right?
So more than 43,000 people
Whoa.
went to the polls in the Louisiana election. A candidate won by
A
one
single vote. Holy smokes, man. Could you imagine that? I mean, how many recounts did that one take?
I don't know.
Because
Wow.
I mean, see over under on that one happening. Oh,
This is where it gets really. This is where you start seeing the butterfly effect.
yeah.
If what Joe says is true, which the people he's alleged made allegations against all deny it. If it's true, Louisiana uses Dominion voting systems. Last time I checked. If he releases the source, does the Democrat win by one vote? Don't know.
Wow.
How does that sheriff there? I believe the Democrat won, Republican lost. Winning by one vote. How many people's lives does that affect? And we don't know if there was any fraud. We don't know.
Yeah.
But if what he's alleging is true, you have to think that the results would be different. How many people are going to face charges who wouldn't have faced charges if a different sheriff? How many people are going to be shot by police with a different sheriff, or not shot?
Yeah. I mean, what is going to be the first act as sheriff, right?
It's the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
It's the butterfly effect. You go back in time in a time machine and you step on a butterfly and it changes the course of history.
Yeah.
It's the ripple. The ripple gets bigger and bigger as it gets farther away from that point of change.
It's just the prominent points in history where crazy things happen, Max. I mean, we see it all the time. All you have to do is, my minor in college was history, and all you got to find is those one little moments. It takes one action to change everything, whether it be an assassination or whatever it is, down to like a genocide or anything. One action changes everything.
Oh, I mean, just look at World War One.
Yeah,
World War One started with the assassination of Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
So he, Gavrila Princip, I'll never forget the name. Gavrila
Yeah.
Princip is the assassin. Tries to kill him, fails, and
Yeah.
goes to like a pub. And he's sitting there at the pub, and the car that was driving the Archduke changed its route and just happened to drive right past like the restaurant,
Yeah.
pub, cafe he was at.
Yeah.
That driver makes a right instead of a left.
World
War
War
One
One
doesn't
never
start.
That's right. And
It's
the whole course of
crazy.
history changes. Yeah.
Yes.
One of those little moments. And all these future elections, if they're still running on Dominion and you've got proof that alleges that they may have funny business there, I mean, imagine what that changes in every election moving forward. The way people view elections. You know, I mean, if you had proof that an election you were just part of meant that your vote no longer mattered, a vote that is guaranteed to you by God for our country, inside of this country, doesn't have any value.
How do you keep it secret?
Imagine that. Imagine
Just-
people no longer having value. Max.
And that's why this is why I'm so frustrated about this, and this is why every episode, last 3 or so episodes, I'm bringing this up because it's infuriating to watch the news, to read these stories, to see what's happening in the world, and to do the butterfly effect in my head,
Mhm.
and just think, would this happen if Joe Oltmann revealed the Antifa source? Maybe, maybe not. There's
Yeah.
lots of things that are a no.
Don't
But
know.
this wouldn't have been happening if he released it back then. If he released it yesterday, if he released it a year ago, right? I can't suspend the disbelief anymore.
Mhm.
I can't suspend the disbelief that protecting one person, anyone, forget about the fact that he's an Antifa, an organization that apparently means you should be killed in the most gruesome ways possible.
Yeah.
Not my words.
Not my words, either.
Anyone, if you have proof that changed the world, you changed the world. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
If there's anyone who watches this show and still watches that show, maybe leave a comment in their comment section.
Yeah. Which is
Next
cool.
time that they talk about how horrible it is that Donald Trump's being prosecuted, ask him why is it more important to protect the Antifa guy. Oh,
Oh, hump
Yeah.
day. It's Wednesday, and
hump day.
I was kind of worried that it was going to get darker. But one
I was worried it was going to get controversial.
right, and then boom, here we are.
You still live in Colorado too.
I know. I mean, no, I don't.
Well, I live in Texas, so
I know it doesn't.
I don't know who's closer to where he lives now.
No comment.
No comment. Yeah, it's
No comment.
listen. It applies to everyone. It applies to everything. Like you want to talk about standing in the gap. You know what standing in the gap means?
No, I don't.
We've heard it so many times when we were over there. Stand in the gap. We heard it's time to get in the gap. It's time to stand in the gap. Remember how Joe used to always say that?
Yeah.
Standing in the gap comes from like medieval times. You have a walled city or a castle. The enemy has breached the wall. Well, think like Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
right? Any of the big battles. What's the Minas Tirith or whatever it is? What's the big castle in the second?
Waterdeep or Water.
Yeah, Helm's Deep. Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. There it is.
So the orcs have breached Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
They're coming in. Standing in the gap is getting in there and fighting them off, even though you know you're going to lose, even though you know you're going to die, because you can't let them get behind you and and rape and pillage and murder innocent people. And you got to give the rest of your guys time to get there. That's what standing in the gap means, right? I can't think of anything that qualifies more as stand in the gap than releasing the Antifa source. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, that
Stand in the gap is literally, it is a sacrifice. It is getting in the gap and sacrificing yourself or someone else or something else to help everyone. I can't think of anything that's more get in the gap than this.
I mean, if
And-
there's a
and-
hill, there's a hill to die on. This is the one to die on.
Yeah.
This is the one.
They'll sing songs about you.
It's true. The name would be in history books
Yeah.
forever.
But apparently, appealing to that side of him isn't working.
I'm just
We'll see.
hoping. Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
see.
Maybe he surprises us.
No one else seems really all that interested in like demanding it, so we'll just keep doing it. Not every day, but
No.
as I see things that just infuriate me as to why an Antifa person should be protected instead of fixing what's going on, we'll bring it up.
If and when he does it, can we have a little release
have a party. Yeah,
Let's have a
yeah.
party on here. Well, I'll
Yeah.
buy some steaks and we'll just stand here and eat
There
while
we
we
go.
celebrate. Have a couple drinks, you know.
There we go.
It'll turn into fun time where we'll just
Fun.
talk shit about the world,
Yeah.
whatever it is at that moment.
Well,
Man.
before we leave, I want to
Yeah.
get your take on something. You've seen this,
Okay,
but
I have.
gotta warn. Probably what we'll do is for the audio edition.
Mhm.
The audio edition will end here, just because there's lots of f-bombs in here, and I don't want to
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
vulgar. So if you're listening to audio, thank you for listening, and check out the next one, which will be listed as vulgar. We'll have this as a secondary posting, or check us out on the video.
Yeah.
That's it for this audio edition of the podcast. Okay. Got that out of the way.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a situation, and I don't have all the details on this. Maybe
Mhm.
you do. Of a custody dispute of a mother with a stepfather, and the biological father
Mm.
is showing up and trying to get his kid, and there's a confrontation between the father and the stepfather, and it ends up, I believe, with the father being shot. Let's watch it. And apologies, there are some f-bombs.
Yeah.
This is on video. Get off of the property.
Where's my son?
Is he's holding a gun
He's right here. Yeah.
already. I thought I heard a gunshot just now, or is that the door slamming? Oh my goodness!
So now we're gonna watch it from another vantage point. But just watch right there.
Yeah.
A guy has a gun.
Yeah.
I don't care what the circumstances are. I don't care if you think he's evil. If someone has a gun, you don't manhandle him like that.
Max,
He
there's
actually
already,
grabbed him and threw him away, tried to throw him away.
if a gun's out, there's a 50-50 chance somebody's getting shot.
Yeah.
It's 50-50 here. So roll the tape. I mean, this isn't a good place to be in.
Here's the other vantage point. This is from someone else. I assume this is someone with
It's
the
his,
father.
this is his wife.
I don't exactly know.
I think it's his wife, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Oh my goodness.
Get off of my property. It's a lawful
Yeah.
demand.
Yeah,
Unless he's got a court order that says he can have the kid, it's a lawful demand.
correct.
The guy goes inside.
I'll go get him. I'm supposed to have him at 3:15.
Okay, so we pause it there. He's supposed to have him at 3:15.
Okay.
She says she's about to go get him. Sounds like the kid isn't even home.
Yeah. Or doesn't want
She's
to go.
about
I
to
don't
go
know.
get him. He's supposed to have him at 3:15, so it might be his time. But you don't fight over that. If another parent violates a custody agreement, you take them to court.
And Max, you usually don't start a conversation holding a rifle.
Well, it didn't start holding the rifle. When he's left this conversation, this vantage point. The first video we saw wasn't
Yeah.
the whole encounter.
Okay. I mean, he
This
didn't come
one is a lot more of the encounter.
All right.
The guy who gets the gun has left. He's gone inside, and now the ex-husband and the ex-wife are talking to each other, it seems. And he's about to come back. Oh no.
It's okay.
So he just left. He's leaving, going inside, see? About to go get him.
All right. Well, sorry he's late.
Telling me that I can pick him up at 6. I'm gonna have the cops. I already got the cops on the way to your mom's house.
Called the police, it sounds like.
Apparently chickens.
When I'm done working, I get him at 3:15. I get him at 3:15. I don't care if you wanted to see him or not. I get him at 3:15.
I don't care if he wants to.
Yeah.
If the court says it, the court says it.
Right. You got to give him the kid unless there's extenuating circumstance.
And Anne Marie and everybody else in the court.
So
I haven't seen this long version of it.
That's the legitimate threat. If you keep your son from me, I'm going to drag all of you into court. Should have ended there. You
Yeah.
should have got back in the car,
Correct.
and there's the ultimatum. And if you don't give me my son, I'll see you in court. But that's not where the altercation ends.
Right. There's no reasonable means to.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there's no reasonable danger here that I would see a need for a firearm yet at all.
Well, so
even protection.
this is where, so I'm not divorced, love my wife, we're happy, we have kids. I have encountered people who are divorced. And what happens sometimes, not all the time, don't attack me, chat. What happens sometimes is that when a wife remarries, when a mother remarries, the view of the ex-husband can become extremely toxic in how he is portrayed in the other household. Not always the stepfather's fault, but it can be very toxic. And if that divorce happened because of allegations of abuse, then obviously the stepfather can see more of a reason to need to step up and protect his wife. From
Sure.
her ex.
Yeah.
So we don't know all of the details about what broke them up, about what else has happened, if he has a drunk past, if violent past. We don't know, right?
Sure.
There's lots of things that can go into this and can legitimately give someone pause or fear that this could escalate into significant violence. We don't know.
From just watching the video here, I don't see anything yet that rises to that level. Right.
The only thing we have seen is we've seen property owner tell him to leave and him not leave.
Yeah.
So technically right now, this is trespassing.
It is.
Subpoenaing Anne Marie's on video. Leave! Do it! Right, you gotta fucking use it, motherfucker!
That's a problem.
That's a problem.
Because one, he came out with you're allowed to have your weapon on your property. But he comes out and he starts using it as leverage with threat.
Well, listen, you can you never point a gun at something you're not willing to shoot. Period. I'm more worried about the guy in the green shirt, like going forward and saying, "Then you better use it, you mother effer." That to me is more bonkers than someone leaving their house with a gun to tell someone a second time to leave their property.
Right. What he's
I don't think no one's right. No. This is
a shit sandwich. Pardon the language.
This is devil's advocate time. No one's right.
Right.
But it's bonkers. If you tell someone to leave and he doesn't leave, and you walk out your house with a gun and you say, "I'm going to ask you one more time to get off my property," and instead of leaving, you confront him and get up in his face, chest bumping him aggressively.
Yeah.
Well, that confrontation, you can make the argument that confrontation justifies the need for the firearm.
Yeah. So in Colorado, we would have it's called like a reasonable, reasonable threat. Like, is the threat reasonable? Right. And technically right now, like the guy refuses to leave my property.
And aggressively steps towards you.
Yeah, but he did come out with a firearm, which, that could also be considered like brandishing, because I'm using this to intimidate you, because the next steps he takes is I will use it, mother effer. That
it really depends on the state.
Threat.
It really depends on the state.
Yes.
But usually you can brandish something, you can brandish a firearm to prevent someone from breaking the law on your property. At least in Texas you can.
Yeah, Texas is much different than good old CO here, dude.
If someone's trespassing, the guy in the black shirt, I don't think he's right for doing this so far.
Yeah, I'm following you.
But I could see a lawyer making the argument that this guy, knowing the history of the ex-husband, asks him to leave, doesn't leave. As he's going in, he sees him getting confrontational with the wife. Comes back out with the gun, because you can see it looks like there is a height difference. That guy, the black guy in the black shirt, is on a stoop. He's like one step higher, and when he's a step higher, they're actually equal height. So it looks like the guy in the green shirt is a bigger guy.
Yes, he's a big dude. And there's one thing is like roll the film, because this is where everything changes.
Yeah,
I think.
God damn it! I'll take it from you and fucking
I'll take it from you and effing use it. That's a threat.
It is. That's a reasonable statement saying I'm about to take this from you and I'm going to kill you with it. That is implied harm, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is, does he put his hands on the gun at all? Because the moment you put your hand on someone
His
else's
face
weapon,
is touching his face. His chest is
Yeah.
touching his
well, I'm
chest.
talking about the weapon. In
Yeah,
the
yeah,
moment you touch the weapon, right? The moment you do, in most jurisdictions, you're justified to shoot.
Now, I'd argue.
Justified.
I would argue that the minute you come into that space,
Yeah.
like even if he isn't touching the firearm, the fact that his nipple is touching the other guy's nipple, right? You see they're pressed up against each other.
But Max, this is still only simple assault.
Yeah.
This is only a simple assault. This does not rise to the level of using my firearm until if he tries to grab the weapon, it does.
You got trespassing.
Simple assault or assault.
Simple assault. You got a threat to use deadly force.
Right. A threat of deadly
No
force.
neither side of this is right.
Mm-mm.
But I
That's
could
what you're saying.
understand how someone in the heat of the moment could be afraid for their life. That's what I'm at so far. Let's see what Green Shirt does next.
Call the police. Call 911.
My son.
Call 911.
All right. So he went for the gun.
Yes.
That right there, depending on your jurisdiction, is it gives you the it makes it okay to come to raise the level of threat, right? You're thinking he's just told me he's going to take it. Now he's put his hand on my weapon.
As long as Black Shirt Guy is legally allowed to have the gun where he has it.
Yes.
If Black Shirt Guy was committing a crime in most jurisdictions, he can't then claim self-defense for someone trying to grab the gun away from him because they would be within the right to disarm a lawbreaker. Up until this point, if this is his property and he can articulate a legitimate fear that he's asked someone to leave and he hasn't left, it is reasonable for someone in that situation to have a gun. Now, you can argue it's not reasonable to point it at him yet. That's fine. The mere possession, though, you can argue that it's reasonable. He's just grabbed it, tried to grab it. Let's see what happens next.
What? Yeah.
Call 911.
I think he discharged it.
Now, that's what I don't know. Did he discharge it, or was that like a screen door?
I don't know. I thought it was a discharge, but it could be the screen door. I'm not sure.
Call the police. Call 911.
My son.
Call 911. Call 911.
I didn't
I
notice
don't
this.
know.
That is a pistol caliber carbine.
It is.
That's
It's
got a Glock
it's a
mag,
Ruger.
looks like.
It's a Ruger Charger PC carbine, and it
Yeah.
takes Glock mags, shoots 9mm, and if that sounds like a 9mm going off, unless
Very
there's a
quiet.
shell. Right.
I'm not seeing a suppressor on it or
Right.
anything like that.
No.
Very quiet. But could be good
Subsonic
enough.
round. It could be a lot going on here. But the other
He
part
has
is,
also stepped back. Black Shirt Guy has stepped back,
yeah.
and the Green Shirt Guy is continuing to step forward.
Now, Max, here's the other thing. Does he have a reasonable means of escape from here? Let's look at that. Because that's huge.
Depends on the state.
It does.
If you're in New Jersey and someone confronts you on your driveway, they expect you to flee back to your house. If they follow you in your house, they expect you to flee to the farthest away closet and close the door before you defend yourself. That's a bad
Reasonable
state.
means of escape, right? Because that's the thing. Because if he's got a means to escape, he's the bad guy now, quote unquote. There's no.
But
real
if he's in a
bad guy.
stand your ground state, then he has the right to
He's the
stand
good
his ground.
guy, right?
Even though none of these guys are right.
No, let's keep going. Yeah,
Let's watch it again. See if
Call
we...
911.
Oh, no, so someone is at the door. That's why I think it might be a screen door because you
I
can
think
see
it is
here,
too.
Someone is at the door. They're telling him call 911. And if you remember, the first video we watched is from that person's vantage point.
Yeah, and his fingers off the trigger, I think.
Like, do you remember? Like right here, that person you could just barely see in the door is from this vantage point. And if you watch what happens
This
here
is on video.
from the
Get
vantage
off
point,
the property.
let's watch the door close.
Yeah. I think it's a door.
I think
I
it's
hope
the
it's a
door.
door. But what
think it's the
if
door.
they thought it was a different sound?
Yeah. I think it's the door though. From this vantage
Me
point,
too.
it sounds like the door.
Yeah. Keep rolling on that. Yeah.
Call 911. Call 911.
Tried to touch his gun.
Call 911.
Still got his
see
finger
the
off
door-
the
door
trigger.
closed.
Now he's tried to grab the gun. That right
He's
there
done
is
something. He's
Yeah.
made physical contact. He's a much bigger guy. We can see here staying next to each
Yeah.
other. No doubt. The husband is much bigger than the stepfather.
Right. Max, he's got his
Much-
hands on the guy's rifle. That's
Yeah.
Now you're in what we call a gunfight.
Yes.
That's a gunfight.
yes.
And you either have to win it or you lose it.
And
There's no in betweens in a gunfight.
And the worst thing you can do, let's say green shirt is in the right and black
Yeah.
shirt is in the wrong. If you want to stop him from shooting you, you close the distance. If someone has a rifle, you close the distance and you grab it and keep it away, right? He can't shoot you with a rifle if you're closer to him than the distance between the action and, well, he could like move it up. But generally, you close the distance. That's why people like you who train people warn how dangerous a knife can be in a gunfight.
Oh yeah.
Incredibly dangerous. Because they can
Oh,
close the distance and stab you before you even get a shot off.
Knife's far more deadlier. Period.
The worst thing you can do is to grab the guy and throw him at distance without taking the gun away. That's what happens here.
Just tried to grab the gun. And
Try to
there's
grab the gun.
And he just became the bad guy.
He just became
Technically, in
the
the eyes of whatever jurisdiction he is, right? One would say he just became the bad guy. Because the black shirt's defense now is he went for my gun. I had no idea what he was going to do with it.
as long as it was legal for him to have the gun in
Have
the
it,
first place.
Right.
As
That's the only
long-
caveat,
And
right?
as long as he didn't break the law during that encounter, if he unlawfully brandished, depending on that jurisdiction,
Mhm.
then he is always in the wrong.
Yeah, because he's the one that originally escalated it. All I teach people is this is all decision making
Yeah.
and figuring out your local laws and having treasure to spend on a lawyer.
Yeah.
Because
Which I don't have it, but there are a lot of they call it insurance, but they're basically organizations you can join. And God forbid you find yourself in this situation, you pay a monthly fee, and they
Yeah.
have a lawyer on call for you immediately.
Yeah. But that's what it is. Get a
Concealed
lawyer.
Carry Association, different things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's throwing him
He's
away.
gone for the gun. And he made the distance.
2 shots. Now, in that moment, we've seen a lot of situations where someone will fire what could be argued to be an excessive number of shots.
Mhm.
Right? If he had pumped the entire magazine into this guy, then you as a prosecutor, as a juror, say, okay, well, this guy had some animus against him.
Mhm.
That was clearly excessive. But again, I don't think anyone's right here.
Neither do I. Yeah.
But he shot to neutralize the threat, and you can make an argument that the threat was legitimate and it was reasonable to be afraid.
Yeah. The argument can be made. And the next step is I only took 2 shots, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I could have he's got a 30 rounder on there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much,
Yeah.
right? To just keep going, because we see it a lot.
I
He
have
could-
it on video, Kyle. You did it, not him.
I told all of y'all to leave.
We
So he's right, but what's probably going to happen is it's going to be how, in this situation, the threat's neutralized. What you're supposed to do is to either render aid if the guy poses no threat to you, or call 911 and call emergency personnel.
Mhm.
Standing next to the guy as he's bleeding out, having an argument with someone else, it suggests an indifference to human life, which doesn't change the circumstances of that defensive gun use. But in the eyes of a jury or a prosecutor, it could create the appearance of malice. You understand? You see,
Yeah,
sorry, my video is getting slow, but I think you can hear me.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I generally you want to.
You don't
Like,
want to
he
stand
could
next to
have
the
done-
body. You don't want to stand next to the body and argue with someone 20 yards away. He's even if he's legitimately allowed to do that, you want to either render aid or call 911, because you hear lots of people saying call 911, call 911. That's the biggest. Never say call 911. Call 911 yourself.
Yeah.
Because what the studies,
Show.
many studies have shown is that people don't call 911. So don't, if you're in a situation like this, don't just shout, somebody call 911. No,
Think it's
you
called
grab someone, you look them in the eye, and you say, you call 911. People listen to instructions. If you just leave it open to somebody, everyone will assume that someone else is doing it.
Yeah, in psychology, it's called diffusion of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
You just assume someone else is
Yeah.
doing it. No, if you're not doing it, no one else is doing it. The thing is here is that like it doesn't look good on video. I tell people all that all the time. Like if you make a shoot, don't make it look bad on video. Because even if you were in the right and
There's
everything is
lots of
good,
arguments that he's in the wrong.
a jury just has to think he's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to have 12 people that say you're wrong. That's
Yeah.
all it comes down to, regardless
I've-
of justification.
I've made a lot of devil's argument kind of claims that this was a good shoot, but those arguments I'm making are they're chock full of holes. Like there are many arguments to discredit all of the things I just alleged. Like, oh, well, he grabbed the gun. Like this is a bad shoot.
There's nothing good here. Like the first
gun
thing I'm
shouldn't be
thinking
there.
is
The gun shouldn't
adults
be there.
shouldn't come out with the gun to say get off my property.
No.
You shouldn't, unless this dude had the green shirt has some sort of crazy history of a violent past. And if he doesn't have a history of a violent past, and you brought a gun to a domestic dispute, good luck convincing the women on your jury. Good luck convincing the other husbands on that jury, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Max, there's nothing right about it. The gun should have never have come out.
No.
Period.
Let's listen to the end. I didn't actually listen to the end yet.
Came to get his son.
He's not here.
She should have
He's not
told
moving.
that.
Employment.
She should have told that.
None of y'all should be here. None of y'all should be here. I asked you to leave. I did everything. I did not want to do any of this.
911. California.
This is his wife or someone who knows green shirt in the car. There's not a
seems-
lot of like hurry to call 911.
Now there is.
Yeah. And imagine shock, because you got to imagine
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
still
yeah.
shock that might be playing into play here.
Sounds like
And the
there's
best-
someone else in the car though. Because
Yeah.
that woman is giving instructions to someone else in the car.
And what if someone? Oh my God, the video's still going because the phone was just put down. Now you're hearing somebody screaming, or if that was chicken.
Could be
So I mean, Max, what if the other person in the car comes out with a gun? Because now you've just shot my husband.
Yeah.
I now have to defend myself. They
Yeah,
could have.
so-
They could have drawn. I mean, you don't know what's going
So-
to happen.
So then you can make the argument that he is not heartless in letting this dude bleed out. He has backed up, he's put his back to his house, and he's keeping his eye on the only other people who could pose a threat to him, which are the loved ones of the guy he just shot.
Right, because the first thing I teach is after a shoot, you look and assess.
Yeah.
See if there's a buddy, right? In most situations where you're going to be attacked, there's almost always a partner. I mean, it's like above the 70% range when you start looking at videos of crime and the studies that are out there. But he had to go and look. I mean, there's a reasonable thinking that as his lawyer, I would say somebody else might have had a gun. I had to do it. I
Yeah.
had to.
Trying to find
Guys,
where this was.
This is a horrible situation because right now
It is.
somebody's kid's dad is on the ground. He's not moving. Right. That's the other thing is either he's unconscious or he's bleeding out. And I did see a whole ton of blood. But
Yeah.
there's a lot going on there. 2 gut shots you can survive, but if he hits the vena cava near your liver, you've got minutes.
And this is where it's not. You can make the argument that it escalated to a point where he could reasonably be in fear for his life and reasonably want to fire the gun.
Yeah.
The guy threatened to take the gun and use it against him. He aggressively kept approaching him, butting up against him, tried to grab the gun, grabbed him and the gun, tossed him off of his porch. There's lots of reasons to say it would have been reasonable for him to fear for his life.
Yeah.
There are.
The mo-
But it's still a bad shoot because the gun shouldn't be there.
right. The moment the other guy put his hands on the weapon, though, in all the training I would do is somebody's going for
Yeah.
your weapon. It's either yours or theirs.
Yeah, but what he could also have easily done is just get away. He has
away.
a long gun.
Push off.
He has a long
Reasonable
gun.
means of escape. He could have just
Yeah.
backed off and started giving directions,
Yeah.
right? At that point, get distance, start barking out directions. get your camera out, get your phone
Yeah.
out and dial 911 and start yelling, this guy won't leave. This guy won't leave. Use your voice, right?
Yeah.
Your voice is your most powerful tool. Start directing them to do something. If you don't have to shoot, don't do it. Right.
No.
I mean, try to make the choice not to if you don't have to.
Regardless of whether this happened in a castle doctrine or stand your ground or any of that, right? Being legally justified to take another person's life doesn't necessarily mean that it's right to do it. It's a good idea to do it. It's legally defensible to do it. Just look at what happened to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Remember on Conservative Daily, we went through that video
Yeah.
with frame by frame, and we made the argument that every one of those shots were legitimate.
Yeah.
Like
His is
he's
truly
being-
legitimate.
He's
Yeah.
being bashed in the head with a skateboard. Yeah, you have the right to shoot someone,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And yet, when it was played full speed, that was enough for a grand jury to indict him. And he had to go through that whole process. And he still is working. He's working paycheck to paycheck. Just released the book. So just because you're legally in the right doesn't mean that you need
Sure.
to.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you shouldn't take advantage of opportunities where you can put distance between yourself.
Yeah.
Now, listen, you put distance between yourself, and that guy turns to go into your house where you have a loved one yourself and you're afraid he's going to attack them. That's a different story, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a completely different story. But in that situation, one, I wouldn't have gone in for a rifle. I would have
No.
already had a handgun on me.
Right. Keep it concealed.
Yeah.
Hide it. Hide it. Hide it. Hide it.
I would have already had a handgun on me, because then the claim isn't that you left the confrontation, got safe, and came back with a gun to escalate it. Then it's, oh, I just always have a gun.
Mhm.
And
I was
that's
on my property.
that's a much easier legal argument to make before a jury or before a prosecutor. And I wouldn't have, I would have tried to separate. And listen, if that guy keeps chasing after you, then you have to make a decision. Do you keep
Yeah.
backpedaling and risk falling over, tripping over a rock, and finding yourself in a Kyle Rittenhouse situation where a much bigger guy is coming down on you? Then you have to make a different decision of how much do you backpedal and risk him getting you. But I would have probably started. And if he kept coming at me, then you start thinking this guy's not of sound mind. Who in their right mind would manhandle and continue to chase someone drawing a firearm on them? Then you do what you have to do.
And let's not forget that civil cases suck.
Yeah,
Even if he was even if it goes his way and he doesn't get charged and a DA throws it out, Green Shirt can come back and sue him.
Or his next of kin, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if he's got a case or not, he can just start the process to sue you.
Yeah.
know? And maybe they win, you know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking if it's in the jurisdiction area, I think it's in, that the moment the other guy put his hands on the dude's firearm, regardless if it was brought out, would rise to the level of justification and they wouldn't press charges. That's my guess. Now,
Yeah.
how this all shakes out, I don't know. I mean, it could be.
We don't know their background. We don't
Yeah.
know if this guy is even legally allowed to own the gun. He might be a prohibited person. We don't know. If he's a prohibited person, that changes everything.
Yeah, then
Right.
you've got.
Everything.
Yeah.
If it's not his property, that can change things too.
Yeah.
Because in some states, you have the right to defend your property, but you don't always have the right to defend someone else's property. So if he doesn't live there and he just visits and he has another domicile, that could change things.
hmm
And what he might have said in the past, the danger of this coming to trial is, God forbid, even if this guy is legally justified in taking that shot, God forbid, he's on tape the last month or the last week threatening to kill the guy. Right?
Right.
Even if he didn't mean it.
This might not be the first visit
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they've had this way. There's something
Yeah.
about it, but
How many times do people get angry and say, I'm going to effing kill you if you don't get out of here? You get that on tape?
yeah,
And
and
then
he
the
did that.
prosecutor,
You have that.
prosecutors, but like if you present a history of the black shirt threatening to kill the green shirt, then the prosecutor says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, look at this history. These
Yeah.
guys had bad blood, and this guy has threatened to kill him on multiple occasions.
Right, which is why he went and
Yeah.
got a rifle.
Whether or not it was legally or justified, it's obvious he took advantage of the situation to do something he's wanted to do a long time.
There's nothing good about it, Max. There's nothing good.
about it.
We went really long on this one.
I know, but there's lots to dissect because
Yeah.
every frame it changes. Like you're like, this is good, shouldn't be gun. Oh, he touched him. Oh, that's so bad. He backed up.
mean,
Oh,
As a
he threatened to
training video,
shoot
it's
him.
great because there's no right answer. I mean, there's no right answers, and that's the
Yeah.
problem with the shoot. That's what you've got to consider when you carry a weapon of any kind, whether that be a knife, a hammer, a screwdriver, a pistol. They're all weapons, right? I mean, they're all tools. Is the way I say it. You just got to be careful
Yeah.
how to do it. You should be training to be an escape artist and not staying in the fight unless you have to. If you get in the fight, stay in the fight to win it. But I train people to be an escape artist. If you can get the heck out, run.
Yeah.
Run. Disable them. Use your hands if you can. You know, most of the times it's going to be an edged or a blunt weapon in a simple assault. Simple assaults do not rise to the level of a shoot. They
Yeah.
just don't until they either put their hand on your weapon or they try to what we call great bodily harm, put you in a blood choke.
Depending
choke.
on the state, if they are in the commission of another crime. So
Yeah.
like in Colorado, if the domicile wouldn't be on your front porch, but if this had happened in the house, the minute they break into your house,
Yeah.
because they have committed a crime, you can legally argue that you are justified to use deadly force because they've entered your house illegally and they're in the process of committing more crimes.
Yeah.
That's where we can argue. We can
Yeah.
debate both sides of this. And
If
that's
they're
where it
running
gets-
away from you,
Yeah.
don't shoot them.
And if they push you away, if they throw you away, say thank you. Thank you for tossing me across the yard.
Yeah.
I don't need to now worry about you stabbing me in the gut with your
Right.
pocket knife or whatever, right?
And if you think they have a weapon, call it out. Knife, 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 pencil, pencil. I don't care what it is. Call it out so others can see it.
And if you have the need to get a gun, you're worried for your life, while you're doing it, call 911.
Yeah.
Because then you can say, I was in fear for my life. Not only
Yeah.
did I grab a gun, but I called law enforcement because I was really afraid.
And when you dial 911, you don't have to hold it up to your ear. Just
Yep.
make sure they answer and say, help, help, help.
Yep.
Toss it to the ground and let it listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we went long on this, but I want to get your take on it. This is a
there's
nice
a-
little mini episode. This will be a second mini episode.
Yeah, that
I'll
one's
post
scary.
a separate one.
There's nothing good about that. And
No.
Max, we don't deal in absolutes. Everything
No.
is contextually based. There's no answers to any of it. It just comes down to if you're going to get charged and if you got to go get a lawyer.
Yeah, and I'll add that the end of that video cuts out, but you can hear the guy in the black shirt start crying, start choking up that he didn't want this, and that's how tough these situations are, which is why everyone should get training.
Mhm.
If you're in Colorado, reach out to Josh.
Yeah, RMSDF.com.
Yeah. Get training, but also learn the laws. Learn the laws and
Yeah.
run through these kinds of situations in your head. If you know you have an ex-husband who is prone to violence or won't leave your house, have a plan. Have a plan for what happens in this situation, because chances are this isn't the first encounter they've had. And
Mhm.
if you know that this is likely to go down, have a plan. This person calls 911. This person locks the door. We get inside, we lock the door. And if he kicks down the door, he kicks down the door, and then we do what we need to do, right? But there were ample opportunities for them to get in the door, in the house, lock the door, and call 911, and it didn't seem like anyone took it. So get the training, read the laws,
Sad. Mhm.
game plan. Well, that's it for this special mini episode of the Right Guys podcast. If you like the podcast, subscribe. All those links in the description. Audio edition. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. So check that out as well. Yeah, we'll be back on Friday. That's
Yeah.
it for this edition of the podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
And remember, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all snap and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.